Have you ever felt trapped inside your own mind, like there's a constant voice whispering doubts, fears, and negativity into your ear? You're about to try something new, step out of your comfort zone, or chase a dream, but then it's there, telling you, you're not good enough, you'll fail, or why even bother? That voice, the one that criticizes every little thing you do, is what we call the inner critic. It's harsh, relentless, and exhausting. And the worst part? It feels like it's a part of you. But here's the truth. That voice isn't you. It's just noise, a habit of the mind that you've unknowingly carried for years. And today, we're going to figure out how to quiet it, maybe even turn it off for good. By the time we're done here, you'll know exactly how to recognize that inner critic, understand why it exists, and most importantly, learn how to stop it from controlling your life. So stick with me. This might just be the most important conversation you have with yourself. Let's start with the basics. What is the inner critic? It's that voice in your head that constantly evaluates, judges, and often belittles you. It's the one that points out every mistake you've ever made and predicts failure before you've even begun. This inner dialogue can be so convincing that you start believing it's the truth. "I'm not good enough," it says, and you nod in agreement. "I'll never be as successful as others," it whispers, and you shrink away from your dreams. But here's something powerful to remember. The inner critic is not your true voice. It's a mental habit, like a bad radio station stuck on repeat. And just like you can change the station, you can change your relationship with this voice. Most of the time, the inner critic is shaped by our past experiences. Maybe it's the echo of a harsh teacher or a parent who demanded perfection. Maybe it's the residue of a mistake you made years ago, a mistake that you've never forgiven yourself for. Over time, these voices merge into one, the inner critic. It's not here to help you, it's here to hold you back. But once you understand this, you can start taking its power away. Here's something that might surprise you. Your inner critic actually believes it's helping you. That critical voice thinks it's keeping you safe. Let's go back in time, way back. Thousands of years ago, our ancestors had to survive in dangerous environments. Their brains were wired to avoid risks at all costs. A wrong decision could mean death. So their minds became incredibly good at predicting failure, imagining the worst-case scenario, and stopping them from taking unnecessary risks. Fast forward to today. We don't face the same life-threatening dangers, but our brains haven't fully adapted. Your inner critic is like an outdated security system. It treats every challenge, whether it's giving a presentation, applying for a new job, or starting a creative project, as a potential threat. It whispers things like, "Don't do this, you'll embarrass yourself," or, "If you fail, everyone will judge you." And you listen, thinking it's protecting you, when really, it's just keeping you stuck. The inner critic doesn't care about your happiness or your growth. Its only job is to keep you in your comfort zone, where it feels you're safe. But here's the catch. True growth and success never happen in the comfort zone. To silence the inner critic, you need to see it for what it really is, not a protector but a limiter. Before you can silence the inner critic, you need to recognize it. And that's not always easy because it's been with you for so long that it feels normal. But the truth is, you're not born with self-doubt, it's learned. The next time you hear that voice, stop and listen carefully. What is it saying? Does it sound like you, or does it sound like someone from your past, a teacher, a parent, a bully? What triggers it? For example, let's say you're about to try something new, like speaking up in a meeting or sharing your creative work online. Suddenly, the voice shows up. "Don't do it. You're not good enough. Everyone will think you're a fraud." That's the inner critic. It thrives on fear, and the moment you notice it, you've already taken the first step toward silencing it. Because when you recognize the critic for what it is, a thought, not a truth, you start to take away its power. One powerful technique is to externalize the critic. Instead of thinking, "I'm bad at this," say, "My inner critic thinks I'm bad at this." By separating yourself from the voice, you create distance. And in that distance, you find clarity. Silencing the inner critic is not about fighting it or trying to force it away. It's about changing your relationship with it. Let's dive into how you can do that. The first thing to remember is that the inner critic thrives on self-judgment. So, the more you beat yourself up for having negative thoughts, the stronger it becomes. Instead, approach it with curiosity. When the critic shows up, ask yourself, why am I feeling this way right now? What am I afraid of? Often, the critic is loudest when you're stepping into something new or uncertain. It's scared for you, and that's okay. But you can reassure it. Say to yourself, I hear you, but I don't need you right now. I've got this. Another way to quiet the critic is to focus on the present moment. The inner critic loves to drag you into the past, reminding you of every mistake you've ever made. Or it pushes you into the future, making you worry about things that haven't even happened yet. But when you bring your attention back to the present, right here, right now, the critic loses its grip. Take a deep breath. Notice the air filling your lungs, the sensation of your feet on the ground. In this moment, there is no failure, no judgment. There is only you, living and breathing. Over time, as you practice this awareness, the inner critic will grow quieter, and eventually, you'll start hearing a new voice, the voice of your true self. Silencing the inner critic isn't just about quieting a negative voice. It's about transforming the way you see yourself and your potential. It's about reclaiming your inner power, the part of you that has always been capable, even when the critic tried to convince you otherwise. Let's talk about what transformation really means here. Imagine your mind as a garden. For years, the inner critic has planted weeds, seeds of doubt, fear, and self-judgment. Over time, these weeds have grown tall and strong, tangling around your confidence and overshadowing your true self. But here's the thing. No matter how overgrown the weeds become, the soil beneath them remains fertile. You can always choose to plant something new. That's what this transformation is about. Not fighting the weeds, but nurturing the flowers. This process starts with small, deliberate actions. Each time you recognize the critic and choose not to believe it, you're planting a flower. Each time you remind yourself of your worth, you're watering that flower. Over time, as you tend to this mental garden, the weeds lose their hold. The flowers, your self-belief, courage, and inner peace begin to bloom. It's important to understand that transformation isn't about perfection. There will be days when the critic feels louder, stronger, and more convincing than ever. And that's okay. Transformation isn't a straight line. It's a dance of progress, setbacks, and resilience. What matters is that you keep showing up for yourself, even on the hard days. Another crucial part of this transformation is self-compassion. For so long, the inner critic has thrived on your harshness toward yourself. It has fed on your self-judgment, your belief that you're not enough. But when you introduce self-compassion into the equation, the critic starts to weaken. Self-compassion means treating yourself with the same kindness you'd offer to a close friend. Imagine a friend came to you and said, "I feel like I'm failing. I don't think I'm good enough." Would you criticize them? Would you say, "You're right? You're not good enough?" Of course not. You'd reassure them, encourage them, remind them of their strengths. So why not offer that same kindness to yourself? The next time the critic whispers, "You're a failure," respond with compassion. Say, "I'm human. I make mistakes, and that's okay. I'm still learning, and I'm proud of myself for trying." This kind of self-talk isn't just comforting. It's transformative. It rewires your brain, teaching it to respond to challenges with resilience instead of fear. Over time, self-compassion becomes your new default, replacing the harshness of the critic with a gentle, empowering inner voice. One of the most beautiful parts of this transformation is that it doesn't just change the way you see yourself, it changes the way you show up in the world. When the critic no longer holds you back, you're free to pursue your dreams, take risks, and embrace opportunities. You're free to express yourself authentically, without the fear of judgment or failure. You'll notice how your relationships improve, how your creativity flourishes, how you approach challenges with a newfound sense of courage. This isn't just about silencing the inner critic, it's about unlocking your full potential. And as you transform, you inspire others to do the same. People around you will see your growth, your confidence, your ability to face life with grace and determination. You become a light in their lives, showing them what's possible when you stop letting the inner critic dictate your story. Remember, transformation isn't about erasing the inner critic completely. It's about turning down its volume so that your true voice can shine through. It's about realizing that you are not defined by your doubts or your fears. You are defined by the choices you make, the effort you put in, and the belief you cultivate within yourself. And here's the truth. You are already so much stronger than you think. The fact that you're here, listening to this, means you're ready to change. You're ready to grow. You're ready to silence the critic and step into the person you've always been meant to be. So take that first step today. Be patient with yourself. Be kind to yourself. And trust that the seeds you're planting now will one day bloom into a garden more beautiful than you ever imagined. Because the greatest transformation doesn't come from silencing the critic. It comes from discovering the voice that's been waiting beneath it all along. Thank you for watching. Remember, your journey is your own, and every step forward is a victory. If this message resonated with you, share it with someone who needs it. Together, let's rewrite the story of our inner voices.